We'll turn it over to Christina now.
Hello, I'm Christina, alcoholic.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, I'm just a little tired. So truth be told, when they first said, we're going to talk about the principles, and how they each pertain to a step, I'm like, principles? What? Because I know my steps, of course. I went through my steps and everything. And I said, okay, so I looked them up, of course. And now I see, how the steps pertain to each different one. So, are we going to talk about just each different one, or did you want to explore all of them?
I apologize. We're talking about humility, love, and
I know which
discipline.
ones we're talking about.
I think we were both prepared to mix them up, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
No problem.
Sorry. All right. So, humility. I thought that I was a humble person. Which I don't understand how I thought that when I was the first person that, tell somebody it's nothing, I got it. You ain't got no money, that's all right, I got it. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm one of them people that I had all type of negative thoughts running through my mind about people, that I don't even know. Oh, her hair look a hot mess. I don't know why she came out the house like that. That's not humble. In no way, shape, form, or fashion. And so let's talk. Step 7 says, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. And I have asked him to remove the shortcomings that I knew about. But all of a sudden, the last 4 or 5 months, a whole bunch of other shortcomings were coming up that I did not know about. And it took me through a whirlwind. I just thinking about other things that I had said back in the day, like when I was 13 or 14, don't nobody remember. I mean, I do remember, but I don't remember all the stuff that I said or did to people. And so these shortcomings were coming, and I'm just like, oh my God, if I knew when I started saying the 7-step prayer that all this stuff was going to start happening right away, I don't think I would have said that prayer. My sponsor didn't tell me to say that prayer. Just the people at the meeting was talking about it. But the one thing that my sponsor did say is that more will be revealed. And what she said that I guess at this point I was thinking as more will be revealed about stuff that I did. Thought it would be more will be revealed about stuff that people did to me or how to forgive people or whatever. Anything else but a whole bunch of crap just coming at me at once. And it was hard. I had to take off work because I wouldn't talk to anybody about it. I wasn't humbly going to talk to my friends or my sponsor or anything. I would just go home after work, not go to my meetings, so one of the things with my humble is that I had thought when people said you were off the beam, I thought that meant that you relapsed. And so I had, I guess, some type of resentment against it. And my sponsor was like, we got to get you back on the beam. And I'm like, I ain't relapsed. I'm still on the beam. What are you talking about? But when I finally went and I really paid attention to it, it was a meeting I had on my Sunday group, and they were talking about step 10. And that made me think, off the beam, that means I'm lying, I'm not being honest. I'm in an emotional, horrible state. And so, that's what that meant. So that helped me to become a little more humble and to, ask my sponsor for help. And then I went and I asked the psychiatrist and the therapist too. I need that outside help. But also the being humble part also helps me lead to love for me. Because when we being humble, that helps me to see, after I made my list and I'm willing to make amends to them all. But being humble made me realize that people are who they are. You love them for who they are, and you love them where they at. You don't got to deal with them, but you also can give them the type of love that they may not have ever experienced. I always thought that I had a lot of love, even though I drank by myself and I was out to myself and I did everything by myself. I wouldn't call anybody or talk to anybody, but I come from a family full of love. I was born and raised in the Baptist church, and my Baptist church was a Baptist church that was love, not hell, fire, brimstone. I don't know nothing about that. And so the love is the part that I'm like, I got this. I already know I love. Hell. But what love for me has brought me to open up my eyes, open up my horizon. When I first started AA, or still now, excuse my French, but it was not a lot of POCs, which means, if you don't know, people of color. And so that had kind of had my heart blocked off. Like, I would listen to what people say, but you don't know nothing about me and where I'm from, and this and that. But it took me going to the AA and making AA my society, which is one of the things that I heard a lady in my group named Elva say. And once she said that, I was like, okay. So it opened up a little bit. And then as soon as I started praying on it, then I met me a PIC, right? And now I've got plenty of them, And also, they don't only have to be POC. It's opened my mind to seeing the other cultures, the other things in life, especially when I went to rehabs, and I've been to a few like me. And they had, when I sat and I listened to them, they had my story, or something similar to my story, and it also showed me that, Christina, you're blessed, because I'm blessed, of course, because I'm here today. I didn't kill anybody. But everyone hasn't been blessed like me. Everyone hasn't had the same type of growing up like me. I used to think that, I don't know if I'm going to go there, I won't say that. But sorry. But I've learned to love, and that's, from coming from, this is my third time here. The first time here, I didn't say hi to many people. I was kind of scared. I was only 9 months in. I thought I was going to have the lowest seniority day when we did the count. But that count right there was all love for me. I think I was crying. I was crying by the end of it. That right there showed me love. There's so many people in a room together that can celebrate being sober, being nice, being kind, finding out who they are. And that's the most important part for me, being sober and finding out who I am. But I also have to love myself through finding out who I am or what it is I like, because I don't know anymore. I'm working on it. And then that leads to discipline for me. The discipline, that is, I know that I have been working on it and that it has been working good, because I was feeling like I needed to do more in AA, so I took on a treasury post. Then I took on a secretary post. And when the thing came around to fill out to come up here, and it said, do you want to speak on a panel? I was like, all right, I'll check it. And in the back of my mind, they're not going to pick me. They're not going to call me. I don't know. but they did. And I was scared, still a little nervous. I called my mama this morning and asked her to sing me a song.
Aww.
Right? And she did. I said, please, like 10 times. But cause she knows, where I'm at. She was here with me last year. They couldn't come this year. I couldn't afford her for the mission. Next year I'll afford her for them. And that just made me feel love. And that made me remember my discipline. When it's things that are scaring me or things that I don't think I can do, that I just call people I need to talk to. I pray on it. And I call more people. And I pray more, and I sing. I like to sing gospel to myself, even though I can sing a little bit. And that just helped me to remember the discipline is get to the meeting. Use your resources, which I wasn't doing 2 or 3 months ago when all of that 7-step shortcoming crap kept coming at me. I wasn't telling nobody about it. I was just like, I can get past this, but that's not it. This is not about me having the power to do it. It's not. It's about me knowing and having the faith and the discipline to know that my higher power has me at all times. My sponsor always says, who hands are you in the care of? And I have to say my higher power. I've been in my higher power care since I was born until now. There are so many things that the undisciplined, unruly, how to ask Miss Christina, used to do that I won't do today. And that comes from discipline, humility, and love. I love myself not enough, but I love myself enough not to do certain things anymore. And I'm just listening and watching and learning from all of the people that have the more experience than I have, or have the more years than I have. And all I have to do is, like my sponsor say, take what you can use and leave the rest. But for me, I think my favorite of these principles would be love. Because I am a loving person, and I have so much love to give, but I also have to give that same amount of love to myself. And understand that this is the 3rd Mackinac. You still sober. Your parents and your sister and my little nephew came. I have so many supportive people, and I have so many people that love me. I have so many people here at Mackinac that's just been talking to me, And the first year I came, I just would not talk to nobody. I wouldn't do that, just my sponsor. But I think that's all I have to say. Was that good?
That was good.
Thank you guys.
We'll sandwich it.
Okay.
What do you think? I think that'd be.
Okay, so she just passed it to me. So I was hoping to go last. My name is Chris,
But I'm last.
and I am a grateful recovering member of the Al-Anon family groups, and I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, Chris.
I will tell you my first trip to, not my first trip to Mackinac Island, but my first conference was in 2011, and I had just joined Al-Anon that August, and I couldn't find anybody to come up here with me for the conference. I had heard about it, and I had asked around all my friends. My husband had some time off work. My daughter was not in school that weekend, Thursday and Friday. They had a long weekend. And he said, well, we're free. Why don't we just drive you up there? And so it was my husband and my 15-year-old daughter, who drove me into these rooms. Now I qualify, and I'll go back and do that too. But at 15 and a half, she was lying and manipulating and sneaking out of the house. And, smoking pot and drinking, and somebody suggested, why don't I go to Al-Anon? And I'm so grateful that they did. Now, let me also, in interest of full disclosure, I had 31 years of sobriety at that point, continuous and uninterrupted. I had a higher power. I was praying on my knees every day, and I would get up and just scream at her. And I'd say, God, I know this isn't what you want for us. Show me another way. And somebody suggested Al-Anon. So that first Mackinac conference, we came up here in 2011. We stayed in Mackinac City. He took the girls out for pizza that night. He came back drunk. I was pissed. I came in and registered on Friday, and I'm talking to Vicki, and I'm sobbing, that ugly mess crying. And she directed me to the other Al-Anon women, and they just took me under their wing, and we drove back in total silence. And that's a long drive. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. It's about 6.5 hours, right? Go Buckeyes. We're going to sit in here in Miscript, Ohio. I'm sorry. But that Tuesday, he had a stroke. And I went to the hospital. My daughter called me at the office. I was working, and I went over to the hospital, and I go in, and now I'm crying. I'm so sorry. I've been so mean to you. From my background, I cannot help but love alcoholics, right? I was programmed for it. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I say alcoholic home. My father was a heavy drinker. He bought everything by the cases. There was a huge room where there was anything you could ever imagine. And, as a child, I grew up with, I don't remember my first drink. I would go from adult to adult to adult. Can I have a sip of your drink? And then drink as much as I could until they'd pull the glass away and say, Alex, you got a little guzzler here. I never in the world dreamed that I would ever speak on humility. I was, I was one of 10 kids. There was the oldest girl, the oldest boy, the smartest, the prettiest, National Honor Society, captain of the cheerleading squad, a homecoming queen, a Marine, the youngest girl, the youngest boy. Everybody in that family was special except me. And my first sponsor said, ask yourself what you're wanting that you're not getting. And that answer for me has always been enough attention. Chrissy's not getting any attention. And I know my growing up years was always acting out for a lot of attention. And as a grown adult, I'm still capable of doing that. And thank God this program has softened that a little bit, right? So I definitely belong here. I was grateful. My father was, like I said, a heavy drinker, and we were the party house. If everybody was there, he was the life of the party. But if there wasn't anybody around, he could be so mean, and he beat us unmercifully. And I can remember around 12 years old, I was cradle Catholic, went to Catholic school, confession, communion, all the things you're supposed to do. And at around 12 years old, I said, this thou shalt not business has done nothing for me. I'm going to do what I want. And his beatings were just part of the price to pay for doing what I wanted, and that was it. And he kicked me out of the house at 17. I graduated from high school. I got married. I was married the first time for 15 years. And here's how sick. I was just thinking about this today. I don't really plan. I love the women that come up here with notes and everything. It's like I just start talking and pray that God gives me the right words. But here's how sick I was. And that the disease of the effects of the alcoholism, I would badger him. I would push him until he'd just get so pissed it'd smack me. And it's like, and then I was superior because look what I've reduced you to. That's my sickness. That's my disease of the effects of alcoholism because I knew I could push his buttons. The seventh step, the steps, the first ones get us right with God. And then the next group of steps get us right with ourselves, those inventories. But that asking him to remove our shortcomings, I went through a period of time. So let me describe my shortcomings. I know this will surprise you, but I'm so full of them. Arrogant and judgmental and self-righteous and intolerant and you name it, I've got it. and it was this huge beach ball. And this was my 6 and 7. I worked very hard at keeping that beach ball under the water. But you know what happens with that? The further you push it down, the sharper it will jump back up and hit somebody in the face inappropriately. And I hit a lot of people in the face inappropriately. So I was going through this period of time. I was trying really hard to not shoot my mouth off. And like if you were in the line in front of me with 14 items in the 12 or less items lane, you know, either you couldn't read or you couldn't count, but either way, I figured you were stupid, right? And I used to say that out loud. And so practicing 6 and 7, I tried very hard not to do that, right? Well, I went through this period of time I was really struggling with. I'd start out so nice and so calm, and I'd even pray before I'd start out. But I'm engaging with another person, either in the business or in public or wherever. And it was like they would just trigger it, and I would just shoot my mouth off. And I went back to my sponsor and explained all this. I'm trying so hard, and it's just jumping out of me. And she says, it sounds like you need to work steps 6 and 7. Well, now my head's going to explode. Did you not hear? I'm trying really hard. And she says, well, 7 says, humbly asked him. I was like, oh, man, when did I miss that? You know, this was a long time, right? And it's like, okay, right. So the next morning, I hit my knees, and I said, okay, God, I might be a little abrasive. And if that doesn't work for you, I'm ready for you to take that away. And that night at a meeting, a woman that I didn't care for very much, I did everything in my power to stay away from her, avoid her. I didn't talk to her. I didn't like her, period. And it was personalities over principles. I will admit that. But she came in just at the last minute, and there's a chair next to me. And I'm like thinking, oh, God, no, not this one, right? Watch what you pray for, because she sat down next to me and she said, I don't know what's different, but you're suddenly more approachable. That was not my doing. I had asked God to remove that abrasiveness. And so I have learned to put myself in his hands. And I run through the steps, you know, mentally when I do my prayers and readings and morning meditation. And I ask for awareness, willingness, and opportunity. And I say my 3rd step prayer and my 7th step prayer. And I do ask him, you know, whatever's going on with me, you know better than me. I will trust you. Take away whatever stands in the way of whatever you have, you know, in store for me today. And I've been retired for the last couple of years. I used to be so disciplined. You know, I got up every morning 2 hours before everybody else in the household. And I did my prayers and reading and meditation, and then I'd get ready for work. And I've been retired for 2 years, and I am just now getting back into some disciplined routines. It was kind of like trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it. But I absolutely love retirement. But so the amends, you know, the love, we get right with our fellow man, right? When I was a little girl, about 4 years old, the 16-year-old, who was the homecoming queen, had been in a car accident, and she was paralyzed from the waist down. And she was in the hospital for almost a year. And my parents were there all the time. And so I was being raised by other siblings, and that's when the sexual abuse started from an older brother. And as an adult, in recovery, I hated that brother. It ate my guts out. It wasn't just like every now and then if I saw him at my parents' home that it would trigger it or whatever. It was like, it consumed me all the time. And I took it to my sponsor, and sure enough, I needed to make amends. You know, we sweep off our side of the sidewalk and confess our ill will. And I went to him and said, I'm sorry I hated you all these years. I want you to know I don't hate you. And now I grew up in Kansas City, and I hadn't lived in Kansas City since I was 17 when my father kicked me out of the house. And so I was in town, from out of town, and made that amend. And in February, he died of cancer. I didn't know he was that sick. You know, these promises don't happen until you do the footwork. And that's the discipline. You have to be willing to do the footwork. I made that amend. Thank you, God. We had a baby die in that first marriage, and I went on a dry drunk. I didn't consciously say, I'm going to go on a dry drunk. In retrospect, I could look back and see that that's what I had done, but I was binge eating and binge spending and binge shopping and anything outside of me to make me feel better, and we ended up divorced. I really behaved very badly during that time. And in the last few years, since coming into Al-Anon, I really want to make amends to that first husband. He did not deserve a lot of that behavior that I was throwing at him. And my sponsor keeps telling me, you can make indirect amends by being a better wife this time around. I've been married 32 years this time. And so I do things like I've never cleaned the toilet bowl out with his toothbrush. Yes, I did that in the first marriage. And, some days you get up and you're just full of all the love God has bestowed on you and all the gifts, and it's like overwhelming. And then there's some days I look at him and I just hate his guts. But the act as if, for me, even on those days that I can't stand him, I will pour his coffee and take it to him. I continue to try and make those living amends. I have made amends to my children. When I came into Al-Anon, I was still stark raving mad. I knew what was right for everybody. I had everybody in their place, and they were all doing their proper job, and I made sure, and I knew what was right. And I thought those were my assets. And I came into this program and found out those were my character defects. So I've made those amends to my children that give them the dignity to live their own lives and find their own way. And I try and focus on the inside of my hula hoop today. And I'm just so grateful to be here. And thank you for asking me, and thank you for listening. And I'm going to pass it to Susan.
Hello, I'm Susan Heibeck. I'm a child of God and an alcoholic and a member of the Calyx Society.
Hi, Susan.
Really thankful to be here today, and that Mark asked if I would, share on the panel, and I said sure. Here we are, right? How did I first hear about the Mackinac Island Retreat, which has been going on for 35 years now? Is that right? 34th. Okay. No, next year, 35. I heard about it during COVID. I live in Chicago, Illinois, little suburb of Elmhurst, just west of the city. And we were on Zoom meetings every night, based in Lombard, Illinois. And there was a fellow there who used to live in Chicago who was in a Florida nursing home. And he said, "Are y'all going to the Mackinac Island Retreat?" I said, "What?" I said, "How can there be a retreat in Mackinac Island that I don't know about? An AA retreat. How can that be?" And so he said, "Start looking for it in March or April." And so my first one was 3 years ago. So yeah, this is number 3 for me too. So, and the first time Laura and I came together, and the second time Laura, Hannah, and I came together, and now the 3 of us are here again. So, very, very happy to be here. And I'm thankful for the topic. All the speakers so far, I think, have been wonderful, and the panels, and I feel hope all the way through. And principles. They are not something that comes to mind right away when I thought of topics. And I thought it was a really different topic, and I think it's good because the principles seem to me to focus more on the positive a little bit more than the negative. We're looking at the positive side of our defects, our shortcomings, our evil ways, So I kind of like that we can look a little bit more on the positive side while admitting all the negative, terrible things we've done. And following I think Mark said this morning that there were 47. The term principles was mentioned 47 times in the big book, and lo and behold, it's I think 4 times even in how it works. AA's 12 steps are principles for personal recovery. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We are not saints, but that doesn't let us off the hook, right? We really have to strive to try to be those saints, even though I'm not, feeling the halo anytime soon. But I think it's, we really have to strive to look to like we have talked about, our sponsors, our mentors, people with more sobriety who have a better and have tried some different ways. And like you said, the very first one here was humility. That, I don't think that was really in my vocabulary at all. I was pretty sure I was running the world. I was pretty sure that I had to run the world. I was the oldest of 3 girls, and Mom had medical issues. My baby sister had medical issues. So, hey, I can take care of the house. I can get myself and the kids ready for school. I can do all that, right? And so that just progresses right along, right? Nursing school, I'm taking care of. I can control my patients. I can control their rooms. I can fix things. I can do things for them. That's what, what I did. I loved it. But I didn't realize all this. I hadn't hit it. I never drank. My sobriety date is 11/16/11. So I was 57 when I came into the program. So I know there were a lot of late bloomers here. At least I heard this morning there were some people at least a few years sober, and that's wonderful. I think that gives me hope too, through all the stories that we've been hearing, that just there is hope no matter how far down the scale we have gone. So with that good old humility, I pretty much felt I was the center of the universe and that actor on the stage. And I was the director, too, the director and the actor. Just like in Hollywood, right? Doesn't Robert Redford produce, direct, and star in his own films? Well, I can do that, too. Why not? The world did revolve me. Didn't I have to get the kids ready for school, figure out everyone's schedule for the week, maybe include my husband there when he's home, from 6 to 8 or whatever, and then maybe the weekends, and we're doing all the games. I mean, all that kind of stuff, even if you try to share it, we feel I felt responsible for doing it right. And I didn't think I was trying to do it perfectly. I was trying to do it right, which I guess meant perfectly. So, there we go. So it was a relief to me to get to step 3 and realize after reading the big book and going through a little bit of the 12 and 12 that, things are okay if I step away for a while, and the world will continue revolving and someone else will have to step up. Maybe it won't be done the way I want it, right, while I'm gone, but that's okay. I can holler about it later, but it will go on whether or not I'm there. So I learned that, first of all. Second of all, I felt I taught my kids to be independent and all that, but I know that I did affect them in many ways negatively with my alcoholism, which I really didn't start drinking until I was in my 50s. I was I call myself a social drinker, probably a lush. I always took the third drink. I didn't stop at 2. I took the third and then got a little tipsy, But then, as the kids got older, I checked off those goals. Kids grown. My job's happy. Husband seems to be happy. We're going okay here. I thought, well, I deserve a drink. I earned it. I earned it. Look what I put up with all these years. So look what I did all these years. Am I going to keep doing it? Am I going to, And then I was really at a loss because I thought I really didn't plan for my life after 50. I mean, I'm not a big goal and objectives girl necessarily, but, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. I knew I wanted to get married. I knew I wanted to have children. I knew I wanted to be independent in my career. But then what? I didn't have anything further because actually, my parents and most people who retired wanted to retire. I didn't want to retire. I love my job. I'm going to keep loving my job, but I don't intend to retire. So it's kind of like, well, what do I do? So I just kept drinking. The glasses got a little bigger. The glasses got way bigger and more frequently. And let's see, at dinner one time, my husband did accuse me of trying to poison him because I served him cold fish, that was out of the freezer. It didn't cook quite all the way. I didn't care. So So I went from being totally neurotically responsible to, why bother? Like, dude, anybody remember that Bette Midler thing? She go, why bother? Why bother? Who cares? I don't anymore. That was my modus operandi. I don't care. As long as I'm floating on my little cloud, my drunk cloud, I will be fine. But of course, that didn't stay that way. And 2006 rolled around with a DUI, 2008 rolled around with a DUI. Notice I didn't get sober to 2011, 3 years after the second DUI. So I just meandered along. So needless to say, there was no humility, love, or discipline in my life when I came into the program. And I couldn't figure out how I got there, I just couldn't. So, but what did happen was I did listen to my husband, and I did stop drinking I said, fine, I'll stop. So I stopped, and 48 hours later, I'm in the DTs. and he thought I had the flu. I thought I didn't know what was wrong. These chairs, I had 5 of them lined up from my bed to the bathroom because I was so shaky I couldn't make it to the bathroom, the master bath. So I would creep over to the bathroom. I thought it felt like the flu. I was just so shaky I could hardly do anything. And then I said, Mark, you have to call, 911. No, come on, get in the car. I said, no, you have to call 911. I can't even make it down the stairs. And then I remember him, come on down the stairs. The ambulance is here. I said, no, I can't get down the stairs. And what am I doing? I'm looking for the black velvet pants I own and a nice top to go with it, I was obsessed about these black velvet pants. I wanted to wear them to the emergency room. What was wrong? I don't know. And I was withdrawing, and I was seeing Barneys. I was seeing brown. I wasn't afraid of them. They weren't scary. They were just Barneys. They were floating along. And then I saw my mother-in-law and some of my family over there on the sitting on the dresser, and they're looking at me and they're going, she's still drinking. So anyway, the ambulance, they finally came upstairs to get me, got me in the back. And all I heard as I was going out was, her blood pressure is 80/40. Should we start an IV? And of course, yes, start the IV. And so, they were talking to the hospital. So I passed out in the ambulance, and I woke up. I was in intensive care for 5 days. I don't remember any of it. And then I came to in the physical rehab unit. It wasn't psych or detox or anything. I woke up with all the ladies who just had hips and strokes and everything done, I don't know, so it took a while. Anyway, got through all that and started going, God, that was the bottom. And I didn't know what happened when I woke up and took it from there. But I was there for 3 weeks, bruised and battered from falling, because I was falling all the time in my neighborhood while I'm drinking. And then I finally got home after Thanksgiving and just did step by it literally one day at a time. So, coming back to all these wonderful principles, I guess I was definitely humbled when I was in that emergency room. I was definitely had no control over myself at all. And it was humbling to come into the rooms. I did go to a few AA meetings for my DUIs. I had to go. They didn't do signage of papers then, but it was a good idea to go and just tell them you went and blah, blah, blah. And so I did go. So I did know there were meetings in my area locally. And so I slowly started going to meetings whenever I could stay awake. I was just so physically exhausted. And I started listening to, other people, and they're talking like this is something that can be done. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. I don't know what this all is. So, but it kind of came around, and one step at a time, day after day. And discipline, just to bop around here a little, my husband said, Susan, you need structure in your life. Really? I had structure for 57 years. So Anyway, and he just said those things. They looked at me because he didn't know what was happening to me either, right? So, but discipline. And the actual definition of discipline, I had to look it up to see if it meant anything like what I thought. It means to do something in a controlled and habitual way. And I think discipline always had a negative connotation for me. Like discipline, the paddle, the ruler, whatever, the spoon, whatever you get hit with at home, or the boot camp, Army, Marines, discipline. So I prefer the word structure. I prefer the word structure, but discipline is what we do in order to maintain our sobriety, of course. We have to, one day at a time is discipline. First things first is discipline. Waking up in the morning and saying our prayers is discipline. Picking up the phone to our sponsor, discipline. So all those things that, of course, I resisted in the beginning. Why do I need to call someone every day? In the beginning, why? And I'm at home. That's no big deal. I'm meeting every day, and read this. And I think it's all, isn't it? We're just all the little rebel. We're the little 2-year-olds and the teenagers, and we don't want to be told what to do. That's all. I want to do it my way, and that's the highway. But all of our ways are so different. So at least when we meet someone in AA or Al-Anon, we know we're on the same page with all of this, for sure. Especially if we've been sober a little bit and are working the steps. And I think reaching out our hand to everyone is what really makes the deal. We could go on with all these things. Love. Well, there's all kinds of love, right? There's family love. How do you love your new child, your new baby? There's romantic love. There's agape. There's love of God, love of church. And then they said love yourself, and then there's that, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That sounds like a good idea, treat someone like you'd like to be treated. Now, do I love myself, though? So I've got to work on that first. I don't like that. And I did not nobody likes, I think, the big book language. I didn't like the word unmanageability, insanity. I didn't like any of those words, and let alone character defects. I didn't like the word defect. Shortcomings, maybe. And I didn't know what, I really didn't feel like I knew what a resentment was.
Yeah.
I could relate it to, used in everyday language. When would you use that if you're not in a program? I could understand the word grudge. That's what I related it to. Who do I have a grudge against? And I guess I just thought our character defects were just the way we were, and we couldn't change them. That's the way we were born. So I don't have to work on them. I don't have to change. I'm fine. No, obviously, Susan, you are not fine. Look where you've been and what you have done. So, and what you are going to do if you don't stay sober. So that kind of love. And then there's my very favorite, unconditional love, right? And that's what we get in the program and give in the program. That's what we get and give, unconditional love from our higher power, which mine is God. And I know with unconditional love, to me, it's never going away. That's the unconditional. That's of the conditional. Because when someone puts conditions on you, then you start getting suspicious. Oh, is that a condition? Do I have to do this or you'll leave? And that's that insecurities and all those kind of things. But unconditional love. I know AA's here. I know my sponsors here. I know my comrades in crime are here. I know, my family's here, my higher power, my guardian angel. So I feel like I have a whole team behind me now. Not just that way. They said ask for help. I'm asking for help. I've heard this in church the other day. It's not bad or anything. A is ask, S is seek, and K is knock. So ask for help. Well, guess what? Now I have a personal trainer. Ask for help. Now I have, my sponsor. Ask for help. I have my friends. Who else can I ask for help? I have a business coach. Help. So I have a counselor, a psychotherapist. Ask for help. So I did. And now I feel like I can handle it with the strength of God behind me. And hopefully I can help the next person the same way that I've been helped. And everybody needs a different way. I think my sponsor was kind of hands off with me because she knew what I was like. But I did get through what we needed to get through. I called her all the time whenever I had a crisis, and she was always there for me. And what's the first thing she said when she picked up the phone? Did you pray about it? Just like we heard this morning, right? Same thing. When you got a problem, did you pray about it? No. Well, why not? Yeah, good question. Why not? Because I forgot. I forgot about pause, pray, and proceed. And that has helped me immensely with discipline and the 10th step and restraint of tongue and pen and computer. Now, don't send that right away. Why don't you pause for a moment, Susan? Don't respond right away. Just wait. Okay? So, that was the pause, pray, proceed with the discipline, love, humility. Oh my. So what's it like now with using these three, positively using humility? How about embracing humility, love, and discipline? Let's go to the other extreme. I know I need to maintain my humility, and there are different ways to do that, I think. And humility, as was explained to us back in our readings in the 12 and 12 and all, it's not having less self-esteem, it's thinking less of ourselves, right? And not putting ourselves down. So today I had a couple, I wanted some other examples, so that's why I did the Google thing, but maybe I won't after all. But just sometimes just simple things, and we know admitting we're wrong, that's one of them. Letting someone else take the credit, maybe doing things positively in secret, some of those kinds of things. My life is totally different. If you would, like I've heard people say, 15 years ago, when I was in the throes of my addiction, if people said, Susan, you will be talking to a group of AAs on a panel at a conference retreat at Mackinac Island Retreat House, Mission Point, I would have just laughed to, I said, you're crazy, I didn't need AA. Who needs that? And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know sober AA growing up. I knew my grandpa was an alcoholic. I knew that, and he died, a beautiful pumpkin orange, skin color, but that was grandpa. It didn't affect me. It affected my mother and my grandma, and I didn't realize that till later also, that mom was an adult child of an alcoholic. But I didn't really realize that until a few years ago. You don't put all these things together till you have a little time and clear the head, right? And look at things a little more clearly. And with everybody's help and coming to places like this where I hear wonderful speakers with different perspectives and different ways of getting sober and staying sober and sharing those with me. So today, I have to say I do have a sponsor. I have sponsees. I have cohorts in crime there. Who we try. We're known as the terrible trio. We're the wonderful trio at one of our clubs. So you guys aren't from our area, so that's okay. I can tell whatever I want. Do I have to be completely honest? Thoroughly rigorous in us? No. They see one of us and they say, "Where's the other two?" Because we come to 2 or 3 meetings together all the time. So it's kind of funny, and it's a nice feeling. I was anti-club in the beginning. Who knew? And now I really enjoy the club. I've learned what the difference is between the clubs and the clubhouses and playing meetings and all that kind of thing. So I do go to a couple meetings online a week. I go to a couple meetings live every week. I'm active in service work at the district and area level. I've been a CPC chair and a public information chair, and I'm currently the newsletter chair, so I put out our newsletter for Northern Illinois Area 20. And, it just goes on and on. And it's like I know service is the next group of speakers, but I think service really put me to humility too, because I started doing service at 6 months when I was dyeing Easter eggs for some kids' party at the club. And I was lucky I could hold it, to dye the eggs. And then when I started getting into the district meetings and seeing what people were really doing and doing it, for love of the program, doing it for yourself to stay sober, doing it for the love of the group and the program, it just, blew me away. People were willing to do this for free. I remember one story, I think it's either in a grapevine or the big book, where it said a newcomer came and he watched the one guy took all the money and put it in his pocket. So he said, that's the guy who bought the donuts, And so, and he didn't understand, where does your dollar go and all that. All those things we're suspicious of in the beginning too, when we don't understand. So, and the service work was seeing our members in action, making decisions for the betterment of our area, ideally, and how few people. We have maybe 60 to 90 people at an area meeting, and there should be 300. There should be 300 or more. We represent all of northern Illinois. And that's not Chicago. Chicago's separate, and that's 19. We're 20, but we're everything west of Chicago, all the way to Iowa, and south all the way south of I-80. There should be hundreds of people running for chairs and wanting to stand for things is what I think. And we stand unopposed at most of our positions. So whatever you want, you got it. It's like, well, how do I do it? Oh, however you want. Oh, okay. Well, that was helpful. So it's just amazing, but it works, right? And then you can't complain about the decision if you weren't there to discuss the motion, And I think COVID was a real learning experience too for everybody. But getting back to the topic, I think it's about time to wrap it up for me. And I've got a little quote here that I like. That actually, two things. After Mark called and said principles, I thought, I know I have a principles book somewhere. And I found this little book. It's called Willing to Grow. I think it was under my bed for a while. And found it, but it's a little, like 2 or 3 pages. It's not AA-approved literature. It's written by somebody who thought there was a need to discuss the principles. And it's from hopeoutreachchicago.org. You're willing to look at it or take a picture of it. I think they have them at the club for a couple bucks. I'm not sure where I got that, but I've had it for a while. So I went right to this. And some people do, just being the person that I am, I noticed that some people write the principles in a different order. Like service is, the last couple are the same, but discipline and love is brotherly love or something else. So it depends what you're reading. But anyway, that's fine. And so what I wanted to read is something. This is a quote. I think it's a good one to end on. Humility is perfect quietness of heart. It is to expect nothing, to wonder at nothing that is done to me, to feel nothing done against me. It is to be at rest when nobody praises me, and when I am blamed or despised. It is to have a blessed home in the Lord, where I can go in and shut the door, and kneel to my Father in secret, and am at peace as in a deep sea of calmness, when all around and above are in trouble. And that was written by Andrew Murray, and it's a framed item on Dr. Bob's desk. I'm Susan, I'm an alcoholic, and that's all I've got.
Let's give Christina, Susan, and Chris another round of applause. They did a job. I'd just like to say on the principle of love, I was early on in sobriety in Mason, Michigan, and a gal had helped me get my license back, and she said, Dick, We don't have to like everybody in AA, but we have to love everybody in AA. And that has stuck with me. So every time at the end of when I speak at a meeting, I say I love each and every one of you, because without you guys and gals in my life today, I wouldn't have the life I have, you know, and I'm grateful for AA, the fellowship, the steps, my sponsor, the men in my life, the women. You know, it's just a blessing to be here with everybody this weekend and see the newcomers and see people that's been here for a while. So give each and every one of you a round of applause for being here. You know? That's what you